Video Startius. Hey, so remember in 2020 when everyone was low-key kind of going crazy, and a bunch of people started editing themselves into the Harry Potter movies and talking about what they would do if they were in Harry Potter? You remember that? Because I've tried so hard to forget, little Avada Kedavra on myself. Because let's talk about Draco Tok, babes. And by Draco Tok, I mean let's talk about the content thieves, the PDF files, if you get what I'm putting down, the bullies, the POC activists fighting for change. Did love that part. Very proud to be a part of that. But also the sexualization of minors, the insaneness of it all, the simping over fictional characters, the talking about Eiffel Towers, just the things that make you want to cry your eyes out if you ever think about a mahogany apple candle. Let me loop you in, let me fill you in on why this little space of the internet where people are like, oh, is it just me and Harry Potter, somehow ruined the lives of so many people because it was full of the best and worst people you would ever meet in the weirdest community ever. Now, if you cannot tell, I'm a survivor of Draco Tok, and this is my story. And this sounds like a really bad Hulu documentary now that I'm saying it out loud. But like, when I tell you what happened, you'll go from being like, wow, that's kind of an insensitive joke to me, calling herself a survivor, to being like, oh God, they were in the trenches. Because, babes, I had to get therapy. You know how embarrassing it is to look a therapist in the eyes and be like, Draco Malfoy did this to me. He did this to me. It's embarrassing. So buckle up, sit down, because let's yap about this. So to understand this little part of the internet, I gotta cast a little time travel spell, Back to the Futurists Leviosa. The spell of the century. What can I say? I'm a master magician. Wizard. So before I info dump on y'all about Harry Potter TikTok and the epic highs and lows, the Leviosas and the Levios downs of it all, it's important to understand where all of this starts. Because I could start yapping about the objectification of minors and the overconsumption problem and the harassment and the fake grooming allegations and then the real grooming allegations and then the time an actor gave us his phone number and then the time that one of the actors talked about the fact that he knew people were simping over him in his minor form, and then also wrote a song about how he wanted to, I didn't say that, how he wanted to be romantically entwined with a character. Before I get into all of that, you have to understand the background. To get to the epic highs and lows, we've got to start the story in the beginning.
Honestly, the only reason why I'm coming to Hogwarts is because I have a single mom, so they gave me hella financial aid. Yeah, I know, Harry. I wanted to get married at Ollivander, so my mom was like, no, estás mensa, the pulga's cheaper. That's our new teacher. Pack it up, familia peluche. Oh, nothing, Federica. Oh, wait, I know a spell. Sana, sana, colita de rana.
I miss you so much, Draco. I can still feel you.
Draco Tok was a subsect of Harry Potter TikTok. When I say Draco Tok, I'm talking about both of them. If you hear me say HP Talk, I am incorporating Draco Tok into that. So in Harry Potter TikTok, there is Twin Talk, which is about Fred and George Weasley, which is where the Eiffel Tower comes in.
Yeah, imagine it.
I love to play with my... Say it. Ball.
Well, that doesn't seem so bad. That's, it's the wrong one. You don't mean... I do. I do mean...
There's Marauders Talk, there's Draco Tok. Draco Tok was the biggest. I would say it is like the foundation of it all, and it is where the root of all evil is. And by the root of all evil, I mean I mean the root of all evil. Society is dedicated to Draco Malfoy. And his fan fictions and his TikToks and his POVs and just everything about him, from edits to fanfics to fan casts, because we did recast the entire cast because we ended up hating them. And when I say we, I mean thousands of people. I wish I was just like me and like a couple of weirdos. No, this is group trauma. So these were some of the foundings of Harry Potter TikTok.
Never have I ever opened the Chamber of Secrets!
Every inch of you is perfect from the bottom.
A lot of it were people pretending to go into Hogwarts, which eventually led to POVs, and that led to some weird stuff. And again, you may notice that's me. That's me. Anyways, if you guys want to make fun of me for me and those POVs, I want you to remember I was widowy a minor. Like, I was widowy a minor, okay? Widowy was in my Discord phase. I was in my Discord phase. I was playing Among Us, but I was widowy a minor, so you can't bully me. You guys, legally, I don't think that's how the law works, but in the law of honey, you can't bully me because y'all might be the jury, but I am the judge. Now, the Draco ones were bad. They were bad. But Draco was not the only character this was happening to. Like I mentioned, the Eiffel Tower comments about the twins. But so there was the Eiffel Tower things, then there were other people who would make POVs where Sirius Black was their dad, and then they would simp over, like in this point of view, like POV, Sirius Black's your dad, and then it's like, wow, and the audio is like, wow, I wanna fuck him so bad. Your father? Like, I understand it's a POV, but your father? Your father? And then there were people that would post about Professor Snape locking them in a closet to, you know, for funsies. But the thing is in these POVs, they'd be students. That's a grown man. That's a grown man. Grown as hell. And they'd be like, POV, I'm widowy a minor. POV, he's widowy going to jail. He's widowy gonna hit the gwitty and then widowy go to jail. And I would like to clarify before y'all's opinions of me drastically change in seconds and I lose all my credibility. I think the weirdest thing I ever did on Draco Tok was post a... What was the weirdest thing I did? Hold on. So the weirdest thing I ever did on Draco Tok is I would use audios from Community and make a sitcom but with the Harry Potter characters and then edit it like that. Why am I proud of this? I'm still proud of a lot of my Marvel ones. My Marvel ones are the ones that like really got me some popularity. Not that I need it, but like I am a Libra. But I am proud of them. But yeah, that's the weirdest thing I ever did. You know, no romance for me, just clown shit. Just like real life, you know? No bitch, just... The hoes don't like clowns. I don't know what to say. The hoes don't like clowns. Now, I want to make this clear. This is no discredit, none whatsoever, to anyone's creativity. Harry Potter TikTok, though it was eventually tarnished by a bunch of really corrupt people, was first and foremost an outlet for people's creativity during the lockdown. It started off fun and it got ruined, and it got ruined fast. So now that you've gotten the basis of it, let's get into it. Let's talk about how these adults were wanting to get freaky deaky with some students and everything else. That's somehow not the worst part. Like I said, Draco Tok happened at such a weird period in time. It started to arise June, July of 2020. So still like in the height of the pandemic, a lot of people weren't back to school yet. This, however, is no excuse, okay? None whatsoever. No excuse for being on your hands and knees barking for a 12-year-old. 12-year-old. Because a lot of the Draco clips you will see, and a lot of the ones you did see, are when Tom Felton, the actor, not to be confused with any other famous Toms who are British, there's a lot of them. That could be a whole separate video of just me ranking British Toms. Anyways, Tom Felton, the actor, was 12 in some of these scenes. I distinctly remember a TikTok that went viral of a girl talking about how she DJs in her free time at home, on her bed, if you get what I'm putting down, you know, a little freestyle to a specific Harry Potter movie, and then flip the camera to, you know, show the screen, and it was scenes of Draco at 12 years old, and this woman had in her bio that she was in her late 20s. I don't remember the exact age because, good God, I have tried to like Men in Black, like swoop this from my memory. But this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And the thing is like I said, a lot of the actors were aware of this. Tom Felton specifically would react to videos of people simping over him at his young age, and sometimes even condoned it, which I'll get more into that later. But just so you can get it all together, Draco Tok as a whole was basically just a rendition of Trying to Strike a Chord, and it's probably A minor. So a common defense thrown around in these whole renditions of, you know, Trying to Strike a Chord and it's probably A minor, I'm gonna keep doing this all day if I don't stop myself, was most often, well, I was 11 or 12 when I read the books and I fell in love with him. Or like, I was 11 or 12 when I watched the movies for the first time. Or I was 16 when I watched the movies for the first time. Or I'm 18 right now and in the last movie he's 18. So it doesn't matter if I'm using a clip where he's 11 because we're both 18 now. Which one, that's not how it works. Like, yes, he's 18 in the last movie, but like, that doesn't, he's 11 in the movie you're using. And also, at your grown age, like, baby, we are not Peter Pan. You've got a mortgage and 2 kids at home. You do not need to be trying to go back to living your 11 or 12-year-old self through Draco Malfoy and being in love with him. But also, jokes aside, it was such a weird thing to watch at my age, because at the time I was in high school, and watching a lot of these grown adults not see anything wrong with it, it just left such like an ill taste in my mouth. And throughout all of Draco Tok, there was no boundaries with age. There'd be, because like I said, I got popular during this time, I'd have like older people, and by older I mean like late 20s, early 30s. One time a 50-year-old, that's a whole other story I could get into, sliding into my DMs asking to collab or asking to get freaky deaky. And when I'd be like, oh, I'm literally a minor, or, you know, I did turn 18 during like my POV era. So when I would be like, oh, like I'm uncomfortable with the age gap, they'd be like, oh, well, it's okay because like everyone in the community is fine with it. So it became a way, like the objectification of Draco became a way for other people to justify some PDF-philia, because being 17 and freshly 18 at the time, it was weird, okay? It was weird having 27, 28-year-olds in my DMs trying to justify that it was okay because they edit themselves into scenes with Draco where he's 16, 17. So dating me, dating, such a fun word, that is not the word they used, but dating me, who was 17, 18 at the time, was just the same as this fictional character that's being objectified. You know, life imitates art, or whatever they say. And being 17, 18 at the time, I was increasingly aware of the fact I was outgrowing these characters. But it seems a lot of people, especially millennials, and I love I love millennials. Please don't. This is not. I'm not waging war on Eminem. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I genuinely got scared. But a lot of them were kind of in this regress state of living out their heydays, high school, everything. There are people who were like, oh, editing myself to be popular in Harry Potter because I wasn't popular in real life, stuff like that. Sometimes you outgrow characters, you know? When you tried speaking up about it, or when you tried coming out about the actual pedophilia happening in the community, most often you would get doxxed, or worse, expelled. But no, seriously, you would put yourself in a lot of danger if you try to call people out of it. I watch so many people I care about have their home addresses leaked. I know someone who got kicked out of their Catholic school. So much happened if you tried to even speak an ounce about the wrongdoings, because a lot of people treated this as reliving their heyday. I couldn't be popular in real life, so I'm gonna be popular in Harry Potter. Oh, I don't have friends right now because we're under lockdown, so all my friends in this TikTok community are my real friends. It was a sort of a form of escapism in a way, and a very violent one, where if you try to deny, like, you know, if you try to be like, this is literally just people editing themselves into videos, people would be like, no, it's a lifestyle, and sorry, you don't like Harry Potter as much as the rest of us, but you don't get it. It became people starting to seriously believe Hogwarts was real, which is where the shifting community comes in, okay? Yeah, okay, look at me, I'm transitioning from one topic to the other. Call that Lumos. So if you're familiar with the Raven method or the Starfish method, you may be entitled to some financial compensation. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you think I'm speaking in runes, or you think I just cursed your entire bloodline, I can speak. If you think I just cursed your entire bloodline, then congrats. Your life is so much normal than mine is. I can even speak English. See, I cursed myself, but your life is so much more normal, Jesus Christ, than mine is, because I'm too familiar with trying to like sleep like this to try to escape my reality, to shift to another reality. I'm too familiar with seeing people on TikTok being like, hey, just shifted to this new reality where I'm Draco Malfoy's wife. Just shifted to this new reality where femboy hooters exist in Harry Potter. This is a thing, by the way, people. That's not a joke. People were trying to do that. Let's talk about shifting. So in simplest caveman terms to explain shifting in the Draco Tok ways, you lay on back. You wake up. Draco Malfoy, real. Draco Malfoy pushed you downstairs. You say, F you, Draco Malfoy. Draco Malfoy goes, oh, we about to kiss right now? Then you have 20 kids, and then you wake up in this reality because you were in other reality where Draco Malfoy go, we about to kiss right now? And push you downstairs. I think we got it. Oh, Shift Talk, my beloved, how happy I am to discuss you, because I've seen so many commentary YouTubers, man, I didn't say that. So I've seen so many commentary YouTubers making fun of shifting and manifestation and subliminals, and it's like, sorry you're not a girl's girl. Like, I know you're a grown man, but the girls who get it, okay? But I've always felt so weird seeing like commentary channels talk about it, because like I'm like an insider, you know? Like I was in there. I was finna be in the pit, and I was locked in. I watched firsthand people talking about their accounts of shifting. I had a lucid dream once where I shifted to Harry Potter, but because I'm from Alabama, for some reason they were all like, the dream was that I shifted. I didn't actually shift. I had a dream where in my dream I shifted. But for some reason, they all went to UA except for Slytherins who went to LSU. If you guys want to hear about Louisiana Blaze and Shreveport Blaze, hit me up. I can tell y'all my wacky dreams because I keep dream journals. I can tell you every dream I've had in the last 5 years. That's weird. So yeah, I've always wanted to discuss shifting as like an insider, but I didn't want to pull up in like the comments and be like, damn, y'all never saw the ice cream in Stranger Things season 3 and been like, that looks so good. Let me try the Raven method and count backwards so I can shift to Stranger Things. Not to be with anyone, but to try ice cream. You know, I probably have gotten eaten alive in the comments. I don't know why I'm telling this to you guys. You might eat me alive in my comments. But let's talk about shifting before I continue embarrassing myself. When I say Draco, you say Tok. I pointed the wrong way. Draco. I hope you said Tok or else this makes it weird.
Hey Kim, did you hear about what are you doing? I'm studying. Oh, well, can I sit in here? I mean, it's not like you're going to, right? Ooh, pens. Jojo, please don't touch the pen. Yes?
Let's discuss what led to this. The proof that Hogwarts is real.
Is this all real? Or is it just happening inside my head?
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
Which this is not the only proof that Hogwarts is real. There were multitudes of these, including people getting letters that they were not muggles and have been selected to go to England and go to Hogwarts, which apparently Hogwarts was not under COVID lockdown. I don't know, maybe they were just built different in the magic world. Maybe they were like COVID-19 repairs. I don't know. I'm not a Ravenclaw. Do I look smart to you? I'm wearing red. That means I'm brave. Yeah, I'm brave. I think I'll be shooting for my own hand, actually. And my mother's a bear. Rawr. So shifting basically describes shifting to another reality, a desired one, a DR. You will hear me use the phrase DR. CR means current reality. I don't think I'm gonna use that because it sounds weird being like CR. But you know, my current reality. When discussed in this specific setting, I am talking about going from this reality to desired one. Some people in manifestation say that you can shift from this reality to one where like all your hopes and dreams are true. Maybe I should get on that. Maybe I should get on that. So this refers to shifting to the Harry Potter movies, usually a specific one. Some people would just be like, I'm gonna shift back to when I was in 7th grade and just live my life from 7th grade to senior year. Commitment. I would never ever go back to 7th grade. So basically, you are waking up in the reality you want to be in, and you are just living in it. And this created a bunch of like weird memes. We had an influx of people saying Draco pushed them down the stairs, that every time Hermione passed a test or a class, she'd start doing the WAP dance.
Where you get your grills from?
I got them from Johnny Dang.
You lying?
Yeah.
Stop. This was Coachella 2016. This was the vibe at the time.
Does anybody know what a WAP is? Potter?
I don't know, sir.
Unsurprising. Hermione?
A bucket and a mop. That's a WAP.
This ick made me into the monster you see today. Okay? on all levels except physical. I am a monster. Woo! Everyone subscribe, and right on 3, we're gonna say expecto shiftomius, okay? And we're gonna shift to a reality where we're all rich, okay? They can't stop us all. Remember when baby witches tried to hex the moon out of the sky on TikTok? Do I need to do a video on baby witches? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do I need to do a video on witch talk? Because there's a time where baby witches were like, guys, if we all channel our power, we can make the moon cease to exist. Despicable Me style, we're gonna steal the moon, okay? So maybe we take that energy, okay? We're not gonna steal the moon, but maybe if we're like all like expecto shiftomius, I hope you said it right then, okay? Expecto shiftomius, we shift to a reality where we're rich. They're just really famous, just rich. We just all turn into a guy named Richard. Like, we don't get actual money, it's like genie level stuff. Anyways, back to the video. But this influx of shifting content led to a lot of hate when people's DRs differed from their own, or when people would shift for the same characters. It would lead to a lot of fighting and doxing and hate criming, just a lot of issues. And like, guys, I don't know if y'all know this, but there's only so many Harry Potter characters. Like, eventually, someone's gonna come for your man. And you're gonna have to share your share. Because, yeah. So it led to a bunch of death threats when people were shifting for the same person. Think of it to kind of like Tumblr kin discourse from back in the day. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, congrats on being loved and having a happy little life. I'm gonna go touch some grass now. But think of it like, okay, we're all gonna shift to Harry Potter. But if you talk to Draco Malfoy and this girl on your For You page who you've never met before is also shifting for Draco Malfoy, you guys can now publicly duke it out. And there would be a lot of public feuds. And I mean public feuds, okay? There would be TikToks where people would start reading people's like parents' name and then be like, and then end the video by being like, and you can tell that to Draco next time you see him, but he doesn't even want you. Like, okay? Okay. It was weird. You just see these on your For You page and you'd be like, oh, the girls are at it again. 2 people wanted Cho Chang, how dare they? So it also led to a lot of people scamming other people for shifting advice. Like, you could pay someone to shift for you, I kid you not. So in shifting, there's this thing where you can do called scripting. And you can just write people into your little script and then they'll be in your DR. I don't think it actually works like that. I think that is like a Harry Potter TikTokification of shifting, because there is like scientific proof behind shifting, but then Harry Potter TikTokification of it is a totally different ballgame. And a lot of the famous shifters of Harry Potter TikTok and a lot of the people that scam people out of money admitted to making it all up for clout. This is like a thing. A lot of them came forward and they were like, so that thing I kind of said, I lied. This is very common on Harry Potter TikTok. We're gonna get to some serious allegations in the future of this video. Not like in the future of the future, like just in like the next couple minutes, depending on how much I yap and how much you want to listen. But it is a lot of people on Harry Potter TikTok being like, that thing I said, I lied. That other thing I said, I also lied. Sorry. This is super common. But you can write people into your script. So you could pay someone to write you into their script. And then that night when they shifted, they would report to you in the morning about everything you did in that reality. Who you ended up with, who you talked to, what your personality was like. I don't really get it either. I don't get it either. You're basically paying a stranger to roleplay with you. Except the stranger knows nothing about you and you have now given them upwards of sometimes $1,000, depending on who you are paying, upwards of $1,000 to basically tell you what you did in a dream they had, if they even really had the dream. So it gave a lot of people a platform to go live and talk about what was happening in their DRs.
Vampires. Real or myth?
Ollie?
Myth.
Which is where like a lot of the lore I was just telling you came from. There's a lot of things that was agreed upon by the community of actually happening. A lot of it was big creators in content houses and friend groups, which we're gonna get into, collaborating on a story and then sharing that publicly. But at this time, there's an influx of people who were tired of just shifting to Harry Potter. So they decided to bring Harry Potter and Hogwarts to us. That they would group shift as a collective and manifest that Hogwarts comes to this reality, which is where you see people saying it's in the sky. You get people meeting up during quarantine in public areas to group meditate, to channel creating Hogwarts in this reality, which is as insane as it sounds, because they're expecting to bring over all the characters, but they'd have to create these human beings out of thin air. And maybe I'm not the best person to ask because I don't fully understand how shifting works, but I don't think it works like that, where we can just have a wizarding school that the general public's not supposed to know about in canon exist, and now the entire general public knows about it because it's on TikTok. Unless like there's like a special like For You page for wizards only, you know? For W instead of For You, that's a V. For W. So this caused a lot of panic. It caused a lot of people freaking out because, oh my god, magic's gonna be real. Now people can Avada Kedavra you in real life. Looking back at it, it's so fake. There was something in the water. The water fountain. Draco's water fountain. I've connected the dots. I haven't connected shit. So it was bad enough that prior to shifting and all of this, we had grown adults thinking they were gonna get their acceptance letters to Hogwarts, even though they would have been the graduating class of 2008. Maybe letters that you are now tenured as a professor, not as a student. But now it has caused like this mass hysteria of people thinking there's a real possibility to get Hogwarts here, or that you can abandon your body. Babes, let me lean forward. So there's this concept that they said in shifting that if you perma-shifted, like you left for a long amount of time or forever, okay, like you went to the Harry Potter reality, a clone of yourself would be in this reality and it would carry out everything for you. So let's say you didn't want to perma-shift, but let's say you want to not be in this reality, Earth 2024, as they would say in Marvel. That is just the year it is. But in this reality, so let's say you're gonna leave this reality for 6 months and spend 6 months there, but an actual 6 months of time will pass. There will be a clone of yourself in this reality that will do everything for you. And when you come back from your shifting, it will be 6 months later. So if you shifted in January, when you wake up, it'll be June, and you will have all of the memories of your clone. And there were a lot of bigger TikTokers saying they were doing that and then reacting to the videos that their clone posted. So after this though, we had proof that Hogwarts was coming, proof that it was circulating and that we'd get to, you know, use magic, and that if someone wanted to take Harry Potter from you, you could just Avada Kedavra them in a Denny's parking lot, you know, because you can't take someone's man if you're Avada Kedavra. So this is where those candles come in that I was talking about, the mahogany apple, because it became common consensus that if Draco Malfoy had a smell, it would not be Axe body spray and the sad, pathetic scent of teenage angst, but would instead be mahogany apple. Ooh, Dementor.
Reviewing my Draco Malfoy scented candle. People on Draco TikTok and Harry Potter TikTok are fully convinced that the mahogany apple scented candle from Bath & Body Works smells like Draco Malfoy. Seriously, if he were a real, fully functional human being, I am convinced this would just be the scent his essence carried. Like,
I just feel so angry all the time.
Oh yeah, terribly funny. Really witty. God, this place has gone to the dogs.
Now, along with these candles that were always sold out, we also had people buying the sweaters from the movies. This is not Harry Potter related, but I had the Midtown High shirt from Spider-Man. Alright,
I'm gonna call my dad.
I already called 911.
You called the police before you called me?
I'm supposed to call you first when I find a dead body?
So we had people ordering the sweaters. We had people ordering locks of the character's hair. Yeah, this ties into the shifting thing. Ha 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 ha. And then we had people that did not believe in shifting, but were asking for letters written from the characters, knowing that it wasn't actually the character, but, you know, just wanting like that feeling of it. Now, this is really embarrassing for me to admit, but not more embarrassing than anything else I've admitted today, but I actually used to write those letters. A couple of my friends would pay me to do it because I went to I went to a fine arts high school for creative writing. I did not go to a creative writing high school for fine arts. I went to a fine arts high school for creative writing. So I had a lot of experience in, you know, writing creatively. So in these little letters, you would just basically request that a fictional character write about how much they're in love with you. Or if you requested, one that I got very often, which is gonna show off the daddy issues of HP TikTok, is write as if you are Remus Lupin, like if Remus Lupin is your father, in which case I am writing as Remus Lupin, but I would write as if like I was their father, talking about how proud I was of them for doing good at wizard school. Totally nothing to be resolved there. Play Daddy Issues by, huh? Oh, I didn't say to play any specific song, what? What's the neighborhood? I've never heard of that. Like The Watch? Anyway, so just know whenever you're getting a video, you're actually not getting a video just from me. You're getting a video from me and Remus Lupin and Bill Weasley. Hence why I have this photo, this be real of me meeting Bill Weasley, because he's totally right here next to me. He's actually, he's directing this, even though this is very much me in my home alone. No, Bill Weasley's directing this, okay? So now that we've gotten a basis of what this housecape was, let's talk about the players in this. The chess players, the pawns. No, that's not. Like the checker pieces? I don't know. Let's talk about the people on the board. The people that made this housecape the housecape that it was. I wish I had like little pieces to demonstrate this, like little Lego sets. You know how funny it could be if I had like a little Lego Draco Malfoy and it's like, I'm Draco Malfoy. And I spent my entire life on TikTok being objectified. And then Ron Weasley comes along and he's like, yeah, everyone's in love with my brothers, but not me. And then Severus Snape comes along and he goes, Severus Snape. Let me focus on this. So let's talk creators, or rather the problems. They definitely created something, and it was problems. So a lot of shit went down, babes, and I mean a lot of shit. I was up until 3 a.m. multiple nights having to act as a therapist to people older than me and to a bunch of friends because someone was always getting doxxed or canceled or worse, expelled. No, it was bad. It was bad. You could do the bare minimum and be canceled if you were a person of color. But if you were not, it would take a lot to get canceled. But when it happened bad. And it happened hard and fast. So many popular creators at this time got canceled for saying slurs. So many popular creators at this time got away with being anti-Semitic and then justified it by saying J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, used a lot of anti-Semitism in the books. A lot of people got away with transphobia and said that this was okay because J.K. Rowling, the creator of the books, was extremely transphobic, and this is at the height of her transphobia, which we will touch on later. I wish I could say it was not that serious and it was just a bunch of chronically online teenagers, but a lot of it was people grown who should have known better, and a lot of it was teenagers sadly having to do damage control, which should never happen on the internet. So first of all, let's talk the houses. And I truly mean houses in the Hufflepuff, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Gryffindor way. Because there were a lot of content houses, the most popular ones being the House of Gryffindor, the House of Slytherin, the House of Ravenclaw, the House of Hufflepuff, you know, the actual ones from the books. And it was seen as a high honor to be in the actual house. Because you could be in a smaller house, like a little friend group house like the Moonies, or let me not name drop specific people, but you know who you are. And if you were part of Harry Potter TikTok, you know so many of these houses because it was cliques. But you could make up your own house, but it would not have the prestige of being in the official, the official house. But the little problem here is, one, a lot of the people in these houses were just there for popularity. So they were not actually friends. They would post on these group accounts and you could tell that they did not know each other. Thankfully, no houses ever tried to do a meetup. If they did, I think it'd be really embarrassing because there's a time where one of the houses thought that their account got hacked because some rando went live on the account and it turned out to be another member because it was just adding the people that were prestige and giving them a password for some of these houses. Some of them were actually legitimate friend groups. It just kind of depends on which one it was. So one thing to note is these houses, like I said, were very hard to get into. And something very important about this is pretty much everyone in the big houses were white. And I say pretty much everyone because there hit a point where they were getting called out so much for it that they basically just threw in a couple of diversity hires. And I wish that was a joke. They just threw in a bunch of people to get their little diversity points and then would be like, we did it. And they did make a big deal out of it. Especially when adding Black creators during Black History Month, it was more of a show of, look at how good we are, than an actual show of appreciation and love for the content creators. It was embarrassing, is what it was. But because of this need for being a popular creator to be in these houses, a lot of people, and I mean a lot, would resort to content stealing, especially from minorities and especially from people with low followings. When I was first getting started, I had my content stolen all the time. As I got more notable, people just stopped. I will say it continued afterwards, like 2 years after HP TikTok died, and to this day my content is still getting stolen, but that's something I'll touch on because that's a, oh my God. When you think it's ending, you find out in 2024, 4 years later, that people are stealing your stuff. But these big creators, especially the creators in the houses, were profiting off of it. This was around the time where the TikTok Creator Fund was started, so none of the smaller creators were able to make money. Even if your videos were making insane views at the time, you were not making money, but these bigger creators would steal your ideas and just put IB, but in the comments. They would never put in the caption, or sometimes they wouldn't even put in the comments until they got called out. Oopsies. To the point of almost getting canceled. And then they would admit to, you know, copying your idea, but they'd always say they were inspired by, even if it was direct word for word. I will say one of the most insane things that ever happened is I called someone out for stealing my content, and you know what I got told? You know what I got told? He's a Slytherin, it's what he does. He's just being in character. He is a thief, and I hate him. Avada Kedavra, okay? Okay, he's not a Slytherin, he is a grown man, okay? He works at Subway. He's not a Slytherin. He might have been a Slytherin 40 years ago, but he's not a Slytherin anymore. But these elite houses tended to be very elitist, and they had their own fan bases, and these fan bases would ride or die for them, even though a lot of really messed up things happened. One of the most notable messed up things that I can remember is a lot of people from House of Slytherin that were later kicked out of House of Slytherin would again objectify minors, but they would get the dark mark tattoo.
You are a normal, regular civilian. Act like it.
Because the Death Eaters were an allegory for the Nazis. That's not that hard to decipher, you know?
What's something that's canon in Harry Potter that everyone forgets is canon in Harry Potter?
That the Dark Mark is Lord Voldemort's symbol that he would brand magically onto his cult members that he called Death Eaters, who carried out racist, xenophobic, terrorist attacks and murders in his name. Yet people still get it tattooed on their bodies.
Don't get dark mark tattoos. I didn't think it had to be said, but don't get dark mark tattoos. J.K. Rowling has stated explicitly that the Death Eaters are supposed to be an allegory for Nazis. What do you think that's the equivalent of? Just give it a moment. Just take a second, figure it out. Cool. And even if you don't agree with the metaphor or the allegory, which you really shouldn't, it's not good. Just the fact that within the context of the story, the dark mark is the symbol of a hate group.
So that was not something you'd want to get on your body, but a lot of people were bragging about having the tattoos. There were even people that get the tattoos, like a fake one, just to upset people at the height of people being called out for this, and then be like, I would never do that. I'm such a good person. And all of their fan base would be like, yeah, he's an ally. He would never. He's not a Nazi. He's hot. I wish that was a joke. That was a direct quote, by the way, of something that happened. So there were these insane fan bases. Remember how I said people were scripting things into their realities? People were scripting these creators into their realities, which actually leads me to the only time I got canceled on HP TikTok, my biggest scandal of my entire career. Someone scripted me into their little DR, you know, not their CR, their DR. So they scripted me into their DR, and they came back the next day and they posted a TikTok expose on me, multiple parts, by the way, about how I am a liar and a fraud because in my POVs, I claim to be a Gryffindor when in their DR, I was a Ravenclaw. I know. Okay? I'm like, if they said I was a Hufflepuff, I believe it, but a Ravenclaw? There's nothing in here, it's hollow. Anyways, I understand if you guys hate me now that you know my scandal. You can throw tomatoes at me, it's okay. It's okay, I'm just a girl. But that was my big scandal. But like I said, these houses were elitist. They would say the N-word, they would get the dark mark tattoos. There's a lot of misogyny. And there's a lot of dick writing for J.K. Rowling. And there would be a new scandal almost every week. Here's Baby Honey explaining one.
Let's talk about the Holly Lithgow situation. Holly Lithgow is a POV creator on the Harry Potter side of TikTok who today has been called out for having racist and transphobic views. Before I go into detail of the facts and evidence from today, I would just like to present this video so you guys know why I'm calling her transphobic.
Everyone who is a female menstruates.
On to the facts of today. Holly was responding to someone who called her out about supporting Tom Felton, and that person put bark bark in their comment. This isn't the issue. The issue is, after being called out, Holly purposefully or seemed to purposefully ignore POC and trans voices on her live and block trans creators, use incorrect pronouns for the person who called them out, even though they had their pronouns in their bio and repeatedly made it clear they were trans, deleted her apology video and all videos of the day, and when asked to talk about how she offended the creator by equating them to a dog, denied it happening. I'm not here to tell you how to stand on this situation. I'm just here to give you guys the...
Here's a couple of messages from my friends talking about different scandals that happened. And here's a couple other ones that I could dig up for y'all.
I do have a cop flag outside of my house. It is not for Blue Lives Matter. I do not support Blue Lives Matter. My family does not support Blue Lives Matter. I have a brother who's a police officer, and him and his department are trying to make better connections with the community. And maybe there's some that I haven't heard about. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot. But I don't sleep with the police flag. I don't sleep with the Confederate flag. I don't hate on the Jewish population, the Jewish community. I have Jewish people in my direct family. I love and support them a lot. I don't hate on any other religions. I don't go to rallies or protest. I never have been to one. I do not talk to underage boys. I do not sexualize underage boys. I do not touch underage boys. I do not throw up the Nazi sign whenever I feel like it. I've never thrown up the Nazi sign. I am not a long-lost Nazi, and I do not support the LGBTQ plus community.
I would like to note that video of me talking about the situation did kickstart my love for explaining to people things that are happening and things they need to be aware of. So I am thankful for that. Otherwise, we would not be here today. So thankus TikTokius, I guess. That's the new spell. I will say, can you hear how scared I am to be on camera in that video? I feel like I've come a long way, not a wrong way. I've come a long way. I'm very proud of myself. But yeah, so there's a new scandal all the time, especially with Slytherins. A lot of people who were Slytherins would almost use it as an excuse to be the worst people ever. There was someone who talked about how her grandma was a Holocaust survivor, and because of that, it's okay for her to simp over the Yahtzees of Harry Potter and to make POVs about Voldemort and Lucius Malfoy, and to talk about how she would eradicate mudbloods, which is a slur in the Harry Potter context. And she justified all of it by, I'm just adhering to my Slytherin roots. It's not real. It is not real. A lot of people use being a Slytherin as a blanket for being a horrible person, and I bet you 98% of them weren't even Slytherins. Everyone pull up Pottermore right now. What's your Hogwarts house? But these big houses and the destruction of them and the horrible things they were doing led to the creation of some smaller houses, some better houses, like Cho Chang Defense Squad, a house made up of all Asian creators uplifting Asian voices and highlighting the racism against Asian characters in Harry Potter. And then there was the Hogwarts Hot Cheeto Girls. There was a Latina group uplifting Latina voices. And just friend groups who, again, did get sadly parasocialized by their fans. There were people who, even though they were just teenagers themselves having fun on the internet, would have obsessive fans who would target them and even stalk them because of how weird it was at the time, and with people editing themselves in to be with characters. A lot of the fan base saw the creators as characters themselves, and like I said, would script them into their DRs and would go as far as to thinking they were actually friends. It was a very, very parasocial time. You know, even my own friend group at the time tended to get really parasocialized with people thinking they knew us personally, which I'm not gonna get into my old friend group because that was a whole thing that sent me into therapy. It sent me to therapy, but you know what? I'm a rat. I'll bite the cheese. So my friend group was made up of a lot of activists, and I use friend group really loosely because it was basically a creator hype house. And it was made up of a lot of activists, but the thing is, and this was common amongst many groups on Harry Potter TikTok, if there was nothing relevant to be activist about, or rather if there was no one to target a hate train against, they would make up something. This included the biggest activist in my friend group making false grooming accusations against someone because they wouldn't go on a date with them. And then very, very adamantly tried to blame that on someone else, and then went on to say that everything was fake. And I wish I could say this is the only instance of someone on Harry Potter TikTok making up grooming allegations, but there was even false ones that were admitted to be false by the person making the claims about one of the actors. And it became a pretty common thing of people making up false claims of people doing wrongdoings, and I use false in quotations because a lot of people did go on to retract their statements and say, I made it up. But, you know, sometimes real victims do feel the need to retract their statement when they feel like people no longer believe victims. But a lot of these groups, including my own, were full of activists who, oh God, when there were no problems, would make up problems. And the thing is if you did not jump on the train of canceling someone immediately, or jump on the train of making up a video about someone, you would be seen as part of the problem. You'd be seen as like condoning that behavior and supporting it. It didn't matter if something happened at 2 in the morning and you were asleep. If you did not have a video up by 3 a.m., you were just as bad as whatever it was, or whoever it was that did the thing. Which is not a way you should treat people, by the way. No one ever is entitled to give you an explanation. No one is ever entitled to talk about something, especially something so strong. I do think it is in our best interest that people with influence and platform use their platform to advocate for human rights and to advocate for justice in the world. But you should not expect someone to talk about every single micro issue. The major issues of HP TikTok, such as the racism and the transphobia, I agree need to be talked about. But there were a lot of issues that when people couldn't talk about the bigger things, they'd make up smaller things, like canceling a creator for wearing fake glasses or for claiming to be a different Hogwarts house. A lot of people got outed for being fake Gryffindors. Like, why do we need drama that bad? And why do you need to post a statement every time someone's outed as a fake Gryffindor? It was like the TikTok witch trials. See what I did there? Witch trials? Because you could just target someone if you didn't like them and make stuff up and everyone would jump on the bandwagon. And if you admitted to it being false, a lot of the time people would just be like, oh, well, there's probably some like truth to it if everyone agrees they're a bad person. So they'd still hate that person, even if you admitted to it being false. And though there was a lot of hate going around that was made up, there were also a lot of actual hurtful things going on. And a lot. And these fake instances of popular creators doing things to generate things for clout led to a lot of actual victims having their voices buried. And it led to people taking a lot of these serious situations less serious, because when there's a new incident every hour and you're already finding out so many of them are false, one, you can only discuss so many incidents. Two, if we're treating like oh, you lied about being Gryffindor, to the same extent of this person R-worded someone, which did happen, and they fessed up to it on live in Draco Malfoy cosplay. If we're equating those things to being equal evils, we can't fight everything. And there are some things that need to be prioritized. That creator never got canceled. That barely made the light of day. I tried to find videos about it, and I found nothing. I could only just find my friend remembering that it also happened. Came a point where Harry Potter TikTok stopped being about Harry Potter and started being about being, I don't want to say politically correct, because that's like such a term of political correctness, but it came to people only wanting to argue and start debates. Harry Potter was thrown to the side. What really ended up happening was a community of cancel culture. And a lot of this came from serious things stemming from J.K. Rowling. Like I said, at the time of HP TikTok was when J.K. Rowling was at the peak of her turfing, for lack of a better phrase. It is when she was doing her trans women are not women spiel that she still does to this day. And that she says if it makes fans mad, that's a them problem. So it's the time of her denial of trans people. Just even existing. Not the fact that, they didn't have rights, just the fact that they existed. No, that's not a thing. And it was also a time of her not owning up to some of the weird and racist names she gave to characters, such as Cho Chang, an Asian character with 2 last names, and Shacklebolt, a black character. And then Dean Thomas, one of the few black characters in the series, having a whole segment about how his father walked out on his life, which was not relevant information at any point during his character arc, by the way. One of the only black characters, and also, I think, the only character that we know of whose dad walked out. And then there's the whole thing with the goblins, and working at the bank, and the allegoriness of it all. There's the whole thing with werewolf disease, and her admitting that it was an allegory for AIDS. Yeah. I told you to buckle up. I told you. And then she came out, well, she didn't come out, but she made her characters come out, actually. Well, yeah. So she came out with a statement saying, I never did those things, even though it's in the book. It's in the book. I read the book. It's in the book. Books, plural, multiple times. Books, Leviosa, books. But she came out and said, I never did that, even though it's in the books. And also went on to say, by the way, Dumbledore is gay. So many characters, gay. Hermione, black. It's not written there, you never see it, and it's not in the movies or anything, you never see it. But that was her intention, as she says, it was always there. Read between the lines, get better at the reading. Oh, J.K. Rowling. Oh, J.K. Rowling. Joanne. The source material itself was corrupt, babes. Of course it was destined to fail. That was the source material. And the more stuff she said, the more the fandom turned against her. And so many of the actors from the films did pass away at the height of HP TikTok. So there came a time where the original franchise as we knew it was starting to kind of crash and burn. They did a little revival, a little cast meeting, and people hated it. Anyways, speaking about the actors and people turning them against them and the failing, let's talk about Tom Felton. Haha, remember I mentioned him earlier? Again, I'm tying it all together. I'm connecting the dots. So when I say Draco, you say Tok. Draco. You better have said Tok. So Tom Felton, the actor who played Draco Malfoy, watched himself get ravaged and eaten alive by horny millennials and young adults and Gen Z and even some Gen Alphas. This poor man. But rather than going about it a normal way and being let me just tune this out, he started duetting it, reacting to it.
That's
Hi again, Tom, it's me, Briar. I know, you still don't know who I am yet, but I just wanted to let you know something, and this is going to sound seriously ridiculous. But before you were on this app, things really felt off. But now that you're here, things have really felt on.
When I found out that her name was Moaning Myrtle, I thought the same thing, I'm not gonna lie.
Harry Potter has come to Hogwarts.
Harry
This is Crab and Goyle. And I'm Malfoy. Draco Malfoy.
Yeah. He even set up this thing where we could text him. It was like a fake little number, but like we could get updates from him. And like if you text the number enough, sometimes it'd pass you through to him. Like he could select to respond to specific texts, and he'd text you sometimes and be like, hey, it's Tom Felton. Except it wouldn't be an auto-generated text. People would get different texts, and it was really weird. Like you'd have these entire content houses pooling together, having one designated person in hopes they'd all get a response. Yeah. So during his time on Draco Tok, he actually rose and fell a lot. It was like a constant like up and down, like oh, because one, a lot of weird things he did. Again, being way too into it. He also wrote a song about Hermione.
'Cause all I want to be with is a girl called Hermione. Kicking back is where you will find her and me.
And about being in love with Hermione. A character that his character didn't have anything with, but at the time there were a lot of shippers shipping Draco and Hermione together. It was a very toxic ship, and he was the main fueler of it. A lot of this came from him being kind of head over heels for Emma Watson. So he would do up people's videos, hype up all this shipping discourse, basically being like, yeah, who's Ron? We don't know Ron, just Draco and Hermione, a totally toxic couple. And he hit his major crash and burn on October 18th. I remember this because it was my birthday. The universe just tried to silence me. My phone died, then it fell down, then my light fell down, then I knocked over a trash can, and I probably became the worst upstairs neighbor ever, and I'm just trying to talk about what happened on my birthday. I just made so much noise. I almost knocked this entire shelf over. I had to rebuild a Lego set low-key, because I have a big one up there, you can't see it, but the top piece fell off because they're trying to silence me. I don't know who they are, the wizards. They're coming for me. But back to what I was saying, before I was so rudely cut off. I'm gonna edit it so you guys don't see me about to have a mental breakdown. But on October 18th, which was the day of my 18th birthday, yippee, which remember, when I said, like, if you don't respond to stuff immediately, you get canceled, yeah, that's a very fun birthday for me, especially considering my dad just died. Honey lore. But that's true, by the way. That's not me making something up for clout, that's true. On my 18th birthday, on October 18th, it came out with allegations, these are actually not in quotations, allegations that Tom Felton groomed one of his fans. Now, these were later proven false. The same person that accused Tom Felton had a past of falsely accusing Liam Payne, admitting to doing it for clout. This whole, like, Twitter charade. But for a good 24 hours, everyone believed it to be real. So people were deleting all of the videos he duetted, people were condemning him, all this stuff. Not really even giving him time to respond because it all happened so fast. And then the person who made the allegations admitted to doing it for clout, admitted to doing it to start a fuss, and that's my wording, but to cause a conniption fit, some chaos, for lack of, non-Southern terms, some chaos. And this, though it was proven to be false, did tank his career. And a lot of people started, I say career is kind of like a funny word to use. He ended up being like a horror movie around this time, I think. But a lot of why people started to bully him relentlessly was because he was living out his glory days of, his relevancy. And it was very much giving, like the high school movies where it's like, Dad, that's your dream, not my dream. You're trying to relive your childhood. That's what it felt like watching Tom Felton and him encouraging us to do the videos. Like, it was very much giving, like the Lego Ninjago thing. Lloyd. It's Lloyd, Dad. No. LL-O-Y-D. I named you. That's what it was giving. Because it was him very much trying to live out the glory days by, writing songs, simping over Hermione, a character played by a real person that he knows. Can you imagine writing a song, simping over a character that someone personally plays? Like, I would low-key kind of go insane. I would walk off the face of the earth if I found out, like, well, I was gonna say if I found out one of my friends wrote a fan fiction about me, but that's another thing that happened during Harry Potter TikTok. I wonder if it's still on Wattpad. Guys, what if I find it and we do a dramatic reading? I react to my old POVs and I read fan fiction about myself. But amidst this bullying, many other scandals happened. He being Tom Felton, would often post about his dog Willow. And this led to a lot of scandals of people calling to the dog. It went from giving him death threats to giving the dog death threats. One of the weirdest situations that happened, which is actually totally different from the other Catholic school situation I talked about, a different Catholic school situation, that was alleged. Well, part of it did happen. I was there, I saw it. But a popular content group all posted multiple videos making fun of Tom Felton and his relationship with his dog, because he says his dog is like his saving grace. And which I believe to be true. This dog helped him through a lot. She's like a good healer for him, therapy dog. We love to see it. These people made I'll already say it. They made TikToks insinuating that Tom Felton does sexually explicit things with the dog. As jokes. They were not taken as jokes. These people did promptly get doxxed, heckled, the works. And doxing's never okay, but what was done was also not okay. And there was a lot of gray area during all this time, because a lot of people were very anti-Tom Felton because of the grooming things, so they thought it was free game to make fun of him. And when they did come out that it was fake, it was still free game because people were like, he did a lot of weird stuff. Again, the song thing, the duetting thing, the encouraging, the sexualization of minors, the encouraging of feeding into Harry Potter and giving money to JKR, the defending of JKR. He was one of the most outspoken people in defense of her because it gave him a place to start, is what he would say. But because it was very parasocial, a lot of people heavily turned on him and things got really messed up. So after this and the JKR thing though, it led to a lot of people choosing sides on Harry Potter TikTok. You either stood with the actors or you stood without them. You either stood with J.K. Rowling or you stood against her. And it's very hard to kind of enjoy content when there's so many problems coming out of the basis of the content. You know, the person that wrote the source material and the people that acted it out. So people were turning against the cast of Harry Potter TikTok because there was these insane parasocial relationships with them. So when they couldn't live up to the parasocial relationship aspect of it, or people who were not in parasocial relationships, when they saw how messed up the situation is, a lot of people started to bail on these actors. So when the Harry Potter reunion happened, and when the twins did their little meeting with JKR, a bunch of people were like, you know what, I don't like them anymore, they're ruining it. So it stopped being about Harry Potter and started just being about the Draco Tok aspect of it, the creators who created it. So rather than letting it die then and there, they basically just fan casted these already casted actors. Like, they just found other actors to replace the ones they no longer liked. So Harry Potter would now be played by Timothée Chalamet. So when people were doing these POVs, they'd use clips of Timothée Chalamet from a different movie, but deem him as Harry Potter, instead of using clips of Daniel Radcliffe. People would also, and by people I mean me, would use the Star Kid cast because it's funny. Like, hello, did somebody say Draco Malfoy?
Someone say Draco Malfoy!
But these fan casts led to a lot of people being like, you know what, we don't associate with actual Harry Potter, this is our thing now, we're taking over. Like a full fandom takeover. And during this time, fanfiction was at its height. And of those fanfictions, there was one called All the Young Dudes, which, if you were around at that time, you are very familiar with it. This was about the Marauders, the generation pre-Harry Potter and his friend, pre-Golden Trio. Think your Sirius Black, your James Potter, your Lily Evans. Think them. And many, many more. I could do a whole deep dive into how that fanfiction ruined lives. But yeah, am I in support of it? Did I read it? I'll never tell. But this led to the boom of the Marauders era. And this era is still around today. So after people started to turn on the cast, a lot of people started to jump ship. And I mean a lot. And the people that did stay kind of stayed for like a revamp, a rebrand. One where people are using the fan-casted characters. One where we're not using the characters the books and movies focus on. We're using their parents. And Marauders TikTok to this day is still booming, though instead of being more like lovey-dovey, I'm in love with them, it's more people talking about the things they would do. Let's think headcanons, let's think edits, let's think fan casts, lots of cosplays. It's what Harry Potter TikTok originally was. There is not this huge air of drama. So yeah, the true creatives at the time either started to fizzle out and go to Marauders TikTok or Avengers TikTok, or just quit altogether. Think of like the cast getting their hands on HP TikTok similarly to when your parents try to like hop in on an inside joke between your friends or you and your siblings. Like think about Tom Felton knowing about Draco Tok as being like your dad walking into a room and being like, oh, you want to hear how I use my raise to pull your bop of a mother because she's got a gyat? Wouldn't that kill all of those words instantly? Would you ever be able to go on the internet again? Think of it like that. That is what the actors joining in did. So I mentioned Harry Potter TikTok exists to a capacity with Marauders Talk, but you're like, oh my god, honey, is there anything going on with Draco Tok right now? There is. So remember when I mentioned there's still content stealing happening today, and it's happening to my old videos, which is why they're all privated now, not because I'm embarrassed or anything. What? Who said that? A lot of accounts are now reusing the exact same videos that we used to make back in the day, and using the exact same clips, the exact same audio, the exact same everything, except in place where there was a person editing themselves into it. They're just doing a black screen and putting YN as in your name. Not like me saying it's your name, but like that's what YN stands for. Not yes or no, your name. You know, for the fan fiction people out there, I'm sure you're aware. But for everyone else who had a happy life and does not need to go touch grass right now, that's what it stands for. So a lot of content is being stolen to this day, and I definitely mean stolen because you can just click on these videos, click on the sound, and then you can see where the original one is, and then you can see where the theft is. And a lot of them are kind of obvious. A lot of the audios I used, I would be the only, like, 1 of 10 people using them, like, ever on TikTok, or I'd upload a lot of my own. A lot of people used to do things with their own voices, and those would be stolen, but they'd still use the original creators' voices, like in the new ones that they're stealing. It's weird. It's so weird. But yeah. I feel like I just info dumped so hard on you. So that's that, right? Harry Potter TikTok's just dead and gone with a few survivors? Yeah, pretty much, actually. A lot of people are calling for a revival of it, similarly to how we had the Hunger Games revival, but that was never super in depth with like a whole community, with a whole bunch of people editing themselves in, and it becoming like a Harry Potter TikTok versus the rest of TikTok. Because there was a time where I wouldn't see normal TikTok videos on my For You page. Every single thing would be about my community. It was like being trapped in a bubble. And that's the thing, a lot of people are saying like, it's coming back. It will never come back. One, because the people that made it what it was were so fed up with all of the racism, with being overlooked, with having their content stolen, and for all the stuff that happened, emotional turmoil, speak wordiest wise, that they never want to go back. And aside from everyone jumping ship, it was during COVID. It was a time where people had the ability to be free online. There was less of like cringe culture, because for a while, cringe culture kind of died. We could just do whatever. Hence like all the dyed hair, the experimental makeup. Now cringe culture is back and worse than ever. I've seen the meme pages, I know. We're not as parasocial anymore. We're not as trapped at home, unable to do anything but ruin our lives on the internet anymore. I mean, some of us are, but a lot of us are not. I cannot believe I just aired out my past like that. Sorry for info-dumping on y'all. I hope you realize we're now bonded for life. Like, we're for lifers now. You're like roped into this with me. Sorry for ruining mahogany apple candles for you forever. And sorry that every time you watch a Harry Potter film, you might think about this, because I do. But that's everything you missed on Draco Tok. And by Draco Tok, I mean Glee. It's been very fun yapping. I've yapped a lot. I'm gonna drink a lot of water. You drink a lot of water. Let's just all drink a bunch of water. You know, water party. There's a bee on my water right now. But I'll figure it out. You know, it's not a real bee. It shifted here. I just wanted to let y'all know, Harry Potter TikTok did not disappear because everyone suddenly decided they hated Harry Potter. It disappeared because of all this other stuff. So now you know something, and you can just be smarter than everyone else because you know this thing, and you can flex on everyone that you know this thing. Okay, again, I'm gonna go drink water. I'm gonna go to bed. You do whatever you need to do, okay? This was super fun. Love you, bye! Video NDS. Leviosa. Stand uppies, y'all. Stand uppies, y'all. Jake, no. Jake, no. Jake, no.